The champagne tray struck the marble floor before Maya Bennett had time to scream. A gloved hand clamped over her mouth. Another locked around her waist and dragged her backward through the service doors of Manhattan's Halcyon Grand, scattering crystal beneath the orchestra's final note. Guests applauded inside the ballroom, unaware that the woman in the silver catering jacket was being carried through a kitchen at gunpoint. Maya drove her heel into one man's shin and bit the palm covering her lips. "Wrong move," he hissed. She slammed her elbow into his throat. It bought her 3 seconds, enough to wrench free, grab a carving fork, and put a steel prep table between herself and 4 masked men. "I'm not who you think I am." The tallest man glanced at the diamond bracelet on her wrist. "You're Celeste Harrow. I found this bracelet beside the service elevator." He lunged. Maya stabbed the fork through his coat sleeve, pinning him briefly to a wooden partition. She almost reached the alarm before something hard struck the back of her head. When the blindfold came off, she was sitting in a dark library with her wrists bound in front of her. A man stood by the fireplace, dressed in a black tuxedo that fit him with frightening precision. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and motionless except for the slow turn of a signet ring around his finger. His face was the kind newspaper printed beside words like financier and philanthropist. The scar along his right eyebrow belonged to the stories they never printed. Alessio Romano. Maya recognized him from the auction's guest list. She also recognized the 2 armed men at the doors and the absence of visible cameras. Alessio studied her face, his dark eyes hardened. "Wrong woman," he growled. The man Maya had stabbed lowered his gaze. She had Harrow's bracelet and entered the private elevator. "I picked it up," Maya said, "and your amateur kidnapping squad grabbed me before I could give it to security." Alessio crossed the room and cut the cord around her wrists. "Then you leave with an apology and enough money to forget this room." "I don't want your money. Everyone wants something. I want my laptop." One of his men placed it on the desk. Its screen was already open. Maya's breath caught. A financial ledger filled the display. Hundreds of encrypted transfers routed through shell charities, construction companies, and offshore trusts. Her employee authentication key appeared beside every transaction. Alessio watched her expression. "Still the wrong woman." "I've never seen this ledger." "Your signature authorized payments to Adrian Vale." Maya knew the name. Everyone in the city's quiet security circles did. Vale was suspected of arranging assassinations that never produced witnesses. Alessio tapped one line. "This payment was issued 48 hours before my uncle was murdered. I didn't authorize it. The system says otherwise. The system is lying." A faint chime came from the laptop. Red numbers appeared above the ledger. 12944. Maya leaned closer. "What happens when that reaches 0? The complete file is delivered to federal prosecutors, rival families, and every major newsroom in New York. If the ledger looked authentic, it would not merely expose Romano assets. It would make Alessios appear to have financed his own uncle's killing. By morning, his allies would abandon him, and his enemies would start shooting." Maya moved toward the keyboard. The guard caught her shoulder. "Let her," Alessio ordered. She opened the authentication record and examined the certificate attached to her name. The signature was a flawless copy. Too flawless. Her employer's system added microscopic timing variations whenever she verified a transaction manually. This ledger had none. "My key was cloned," she said. "Convenient. Not cloned from the company server. From this building." Alessio's expression changed by less than a fraction. "Explain." "The auction network requested my credentials when I logged in tonight. Someone built a false security portal inside the hotel system." She opened a diagnostic window, but the access trail disappeared as she watched. "They're still connected. Whoever did this can see us trying to stop it." A tiny green reflection flashed in the glass, covering a portrait above the fireplace. Maya looked up. There a pinhole camera hidden inside the carved frame. She rose slowly. Don't touch the ledger. One guard reached inside his jacket. Alessio, listen to me. They didn't frame me so you would find the real killer. They framed me because they knew your men would take Celeste Harrow, and they made sure I would be wearing her bracelet. Why? Maya stared at the camera as its green light blinked once. Because someone wanted you to bring me into this room. A sharp crack split the air. The camera exploded. The bullet tore through the portrait and buried itself in the wall inches from Maya's head. Alessio pulled her down behind the desk as his men drew their weapons. Heavy shutters slammed across the windows, sealing the library in darkness. From somewhere inside the mansion came the first burst of automatic gunfire. Alessio covered Maya with his body, raised his pistol, and issued an order that erased any chance of her returning to her ordinary life. Lock down the estate. Nobody leaves and no one takes Maya Bennett from me. The gunfire lasted 11 seconds. Alessio kept Maya behind the overturned desk while his guards returned fire through the corridor. The mansion's lights died, leaving only the red glow of the laptop's countdown. 01:21:8. Those shots weren't aimed at us, Maya said. Another burst tore through the floor below. Alessio glanced toward the sound. You can tell that from here. They're firing in controlled pairs. No return fire from the east wing. She turned the laptop so its glow illuminated a network diagram. Your main server room is directly beneath us. Alessio pressed 2 fingers to his earpiece. Nico, report. Static answered. Maya pulled a small silver case from inside her catering jacket. One guard immediately aimed at her. It's a network bridge, she said, unless you're afraid of a cable. Alessio lowered the weapon with one look. Maya connected the device to her laptop and opened a command window. Lines of code raced across the screen. 36 hours earlier, she had walked through the same mansion unnoticed, hired by Halcyon Event Systems to test the auction network before wealthy donors arrived. Her supervisor had accepted her security report, removed her name, and presented it as his own. The catering shift was supposed to cover the remaining portion of her younger brother's college tuition. Being overlooked had become useful. People discussed passwords, affairs, and crimes in front of women they considered invisible. Maya had found 3 vulnerabilities during that audit. 2 had been repaired. The third, a maintenance channel hidden behind the ballroom's lighting controls, had been dismissed as harmless. Now someone was using it to erase Alessio's servers. I can isolate the attack, she said, but I need administrator access. Alessio gave her a 6-digit code. Your password is 6 numbers. It opens the first gate. The code triggered a biometric request. Alessio pressed his thumb to the silver case, then spoke an Italian phrase into its microphone. A private system unfolded across Maya's green screen. Shipping schedules, foundation accounts, encrypted communications, and personnel records. She looked at him. Your voice phrase changes every day. Every 6 hours. And someone still entered without triggering an alarm. That is why you are here. No, I'm here because your men kidnapped the wrong woman. And yet you're the only person keeping my network alive. There was no gratitude in his voice, only the cold acknowledgement of a useful fact. Maya had heard that tone from executives who depended on her work while forgetting her name. She turned back to the screen. The attacker had already destroyed the main access logs, but a thin gray line pulsed beneath the deletion command. Maya smiled without humor. What? They missed my shadow archive. During every security audit, she installed a temporary air-gapped recorder no larger than a coin. It captured system timestamps without storing private content. Called it unnecessary. Maya called it insurance. She reached into her jacket pocket. Empty. The recorder was attached behind the ballroom's lighting console, she said. If it's still there, it can prove when my credentials were copied. Alessio's expression sharpened. Who knew about it? My supervisor, maybe the venue technician. And anyone watching that camera. The library doors opened. 3 armed men entered around an elegant older gentleman with silver hair and a dark burgundy tie. He moved through the chaos as if the mansion belonged to him. Alessio, his voice carried practiced authority. Thank God. Alessio rose. Dominic Vescari had served the Romano family for 31 years. First as attorney and strategist, then the closest thing Alessio had left to a father. He gripped Alessio's shoulder briefly before noticing Maya. His warmth vanished. That's Bennett. You know my name, Maya asked. Dominic placed a printed dossier on the desk. It contained her photograph, address, employment history, debts, and every visit she had made to the hotel that week. Your credentials authorized $9 million in payments to Adrian Vale, he said. Tonight you wore Celeste Harrow's bracelet, entered her private elevator, and allowed yourself to be brought into this house. Allowed. Maya looked at the bruises forming around her wrists. Your men knocked me unconscious. Perhaps because you needed witnesses who would believe the abduction was real. Alessio picked up the dossier. Maya saw the change in his face, belief, but calculation. Dominic was giving shape to the doubt already inside him. The countdown reached 58 minutes. A message appeared across the laptop. Archive deletion failed, bicycle recorder located. Below it, a live video feed opened. The ballroom was empty now. A masked figure stood beside the lighting console, holding Maya's coin-sized recorder between 2 gloved fingers. Dominic leaned toward the screen. Can it be destroyed? Not completely, Maya said. The casing records heat, pressure, and tampering. But if they take it off-site, we lose the chain of custody. Alessio reached for his pistol. Dominic blocked him. The estate is under attack. You cannot chase hardware through Manhattan for the word of a suspected assassin. Maya watched the masked figure slip the recorder into a pocket and head toward the hotel's underground garage. If that car leaves, the truth leaves with it. Alessio looked from Dominic, the man who had protected his family for decades, to Maya, the stranger whose name appeared on every piece of evidence against him. Then he made his decision. Nico will hold the estate. Dominic, control the family council. Alessio took Maya by the arm and pulled her toward a concealed exit. She comes with me. I can guide you remotely, Maya protested. No. You still think I might be involved. I think somebody murdered my uncle, stole your identity, and arranged for you to enter my custody. His grip loosened, but he did not release her. Until I know which part you played, you do not leave my sight. Behind them, Dominic's expression remained perfectly calm. Only his right hand betrayed him, tightening around the head of his silver walking cane as Maya and Alessio disappeared into the passage. The concealed passage ended inside an underground garage, where an armored sedan waited with its engine running. Alessio opened the rear door. Maya stopped. If you force me into another car, I'm breaking your nose. I'm trying to reach the recorder before it disappears. And I'm deciding whether that makes you slightly less dangerous than the people shooting at us. A burst of gunfire echoed through the tunnel behind them. Maya got into the car. Alessio slid beside her, handed the driver an address, and activated the partition. As the sedan accelerated into the rain, he passed Maya her laptop. 53 minutes, he said. Tell me how to stop the upload. I need the recorder first. You already know someone cloned your credentials. I need to know when. Digital records can be rewritten. My device has an independent crystal clock and a tamper seal. Doesn't trust the network it watches. Alessio studied her with reluctant interest. Neither do you. Networks are more honest. They leave evidence when they betray you. She reopened the ledger and compared its authentication certificates. Each statement carried her digital signature, but something in the sequence bothered her. The transfers had supposedly occurred over 6 months, yet every certificate contained the same entropy pattern, a minute irregularity created when random numbers were generated by the same physical processor. Whoever forged the signatures had not copied old authorizations. They had manufactured all of them on one machine. Tonight, Maya enlarged the metadata. The processor identifier had been partially erased, but 4 characters remained. 7C1A. She had seen them during her audit. The hotel's backup security console. She reached for her phone, then remembered it had vanished during the abduction. "Give me yours." Alessio handed her a secure handset. She called Grant Keller, her supervisor at Halcyon Event Systems. He answered after one ring. "Maya, where are you?" "You know it's me." A pause. "Your number appeared on the screen. I'm calling from a blocked line." Silence replaced the concern in his voice. Maya kept her tone even. "Someone used the backup console to clone my credentials. I need you to revoke the root certificate and preserve the shadow archive." "You installed an unauthorized recorder." Maya looked at Alessio. She had never told Grant where the device was or what she called it. Her final report described it only as an auxiliary monitor. "Grant, don't touch anything. I'm coming in." She ended the call. "He's compromised," she said. "Or he framed you. If Grant could build this, he wouldn't need to steal my work." The secure handset rang. Dominic's name appeared. Alessio answered on speaker. "The council is assembling," Dominic said. "They've seen fragments of the ledger. If the complete file is released, they will invoke the incapacity clause and remove you before midnight. Delay them. I can give you 30 minutes, no more. Where are you?" "Returning to the hotel." "With Bennett." Maya watched a small network icon illuminate on the sedan's dashboard. The secure call had triggered a remote diagnostic handshake. Someone was entering the car's system. "End the call," she said. Dominic continued. "Alessio, the woman is manipulating you. End it now." The steering wheel jerked out of the driver's hands. The sedan swerved across 2 lanes, scraping a delivery truck before accelerating toward a concrete divider. Maya lunged between the front seats and tore open the panel beneath the dashboard. "Brake override," the driver shouted. Alessio pulled Maya back as glass shattered beside her. "What do you need?" "The blue cable." "There are 6. The braided one beside the copper relay." Alessio found it and ripped it free. Nothing happened. Maya saw the secondary controller beneath the brake column. There was no time to explain. She threw herself forward, grabbed the driver's knife, and severed the entire wiring bundle. The sedan lost power. The driver wrenched the wheel. The car spun, struck the divider sideways, and stopped with the passenger door crushed inward. Smoke curled from the dashboard. Maya's shoulder burned where the seatbelt had caught her, but she was alive. So was Alessio. He stared at the dead handset on the floor. Dominic's call opened the connection. "Any incoming secure call could have done it," Maya said. "That proves access, not guilt." "You're defending him?" "I'm defending the truth. Pick a suspect too early, and the real one controls your investigation." For the first time, Alessio followed her judgment without argument. They abandoned the sedan and reached the Halcyon Grand through a service entrance 12 minutes later. The ballroom stood empty beneath half-lit chandeliers. Abandoned champagne glasses and overturned chairs marked the evacuation. Maya crossed to the lighting console. Her recorder was gone, but a thin strip of its tamper membrane remained caught behind a screw. She removed a ring from her finger, a plain black band containing a near-field reader, and held it against the strip. The ring vibrated. Partial backup, she said. Her laptop recovered one timestamp before the record collapsed. 7:43:16 p.m. capture. The first payment bearing Maya's signature was dated 6 months earlier. Alessio understood immediately. The ledger was manufactured tonight and backdated through the backup console. A noise came from the balcony. Alessio drew his pistol as a figure moved behind the curtains. Maya used the lighting board to flood the balcony with white light. Grant Keller stood there, bleeding from his temple. "Maya," he gasped. "They made me give them the root certificate." "Who?" He opened his mouth. A suppressed shot struck him in the chest. Alessio fired toward the curtain while Maya dropped beside Grant. His blood spread beneath her hands. He gripped her catering jacket and forced out 4 words. "Not upload, escrow release." Then his hand went slack. On Maya's laptop, the countdown changed. 0:17:2. A second line appeared beneath it. Bennett investigation confirmed, initiate contingency. Maya stared at the message. The enemy had not merely detected her search. They had been waiting for it. Grant's blood soaked through Maya's hands as the countdown fell below 16 minutes. "Escrow release," she repeated. Alessio kept his pistol trained on the balcony. The shooter had disappeared, leaving only a torn curtain moving in the ventilation draft. "What escrow?" Maya searched Grant's jacket and found a hexagonal security token clipped inside the lining. When she connected it to her laptop, the false ledger vanished. A second interface appeared beneath it. $400 million sat in a Romano family emergency fund. At 0, the money would divide among 6 accounts, including one controlled by Adrian Vale. "This isn't just evidence," Maya said. "The ledger is camouflage. Someone is about to finance coordinated attacks against your family." "Cancel it." "I can't. The cancellation key was erased." "Then move the money. The only available destination is an emergency quarantine account. Once I transfer it, the system will identify my credentials as the authorizing party." Alessio looked at the countdown. In Men 3:31. "What happens if we do nothing?" "Vale gets $80 million. The other beneficiaries receive enough to buy weapons, politicians, and every frightened member of your council." "Move it." Maya inserted Grant's token. The system requested a second authorization. "Beneficiary Repurzoer Biometric." Alessio pressed his thumb against the reader. The transfer began. A progress bar crawled across the screen while Grant's phone vibrated beside his body. Maya glanced down. A message had been sent from her own number. "Vale payment moving now. Romano believes I'm helping him prepare extraction." Alessio read it over her shoulder. "I didn't send that." Another message appeared. "Once I have the money, kill them both." Maya reached for the phone, but Alessio caught her wrist. "Let go. Your credentials created the ledger. Your supervisor held the root key. Now $400 million is moving under your authorization. Because you ordered me to save it. And Vale is waiting for your confirmation." The transfer reached 62%. Footsteps thundered through the ballroom. Dominic entered with 6 Romano guards and Celeste Harrow beside him. The missing heiress wore a torn evening gown, and a bruise darkened one side of her face. Celeste pointed at Maya. "That's her." Maya stared. "We've never met." "She approached me in the restroom," Celeste had said, trembling. "She asked about my father's financial records. When I refused, she took my bracelet." That bracelet was lying beside the elevator. Dominic placed a tablet on the lighting console. Security footage showed Maya entering the restroom behind Celeste. 40 seconds later, Maya emerged with the diamond bracelet in her hand. The video was real. Maya had followed Celeste inside after hearing glass break. She had found the restroom empty and the bracelet beneath an open window. The missing 40 seconds, the time she had spent calling hotel security, had been removed. The footage was edited, Maya said. Dominic looked at the laptop and the money, quarantined before it could reach Vale, into an account owned by Bennett Strategic Holdings. Maya's stomach dropped. A corporate registration appeared on Dominic's tablet. Her name and social security number identified her as the company's sole beneficiary. I've never heard of it. The documents were filed 11 months ago, Dominic said. Your signature is notarized. My identity was stolen. Before or after you accepted employment at this hotel. The transfer completed. 400,000 seared, Bennett Strategic Holdings. Every screen in the ballroom illuminated at once. Maya's photograph appeared beside the fabricated ledger, and a headline accusing Alessio Romano of ordering his uncle's assassination. The file had been released anyway. Dominic turned to Alessio. She has your money, your biometric authorization, and enough evidence to destroy you. Give me the order. Maya looked at Alessio, searching for the man who had trusted her judgment in the wrecked sedan. She found the mafia boss instead. His face became unreadable. Detain her. The words hurt more than they should have. 2 guards seized her arms. You know the timestamps were forged, Maya said. I know you proved one record was created tonight. You saw someone try to kill us. I also saw you lead me away from my estate, isolate me from my counsel, and move my family's emergency fund into a company bearing your name. Because you told me to. And I will spend the rest of the night determining whether that was your plan. Dominic stepped closer. Search her. A guard reached inside Maya's jacket and withdrew a small pistol. It was not hers. Alessio recognized it immediately. That belonged to my uncle. The weapon's slide was stained with dried blood. Maya's voice dropped. Alessio, if Dominic's men take me out of this room, I won't survive long enough to prove anything. Dominic's eyes remained calm, a guilty woman's final performance. One guard tightened his grip. The other shifted behind Maya and quietly pressed a gun barrel against her ribs. That told her everything she needed to know. They were not taking her to a cell. Maya drove her head backward into the first guard's nose, stamped on the second man's foot, and twisted beneath his arm. His suppressed shot tore through the silver catering jacket and grazed her side. She hit the lighting controls. The ballroom plunged into darkness. Gunfire erupted. Maya crawled beneath a banquet table, leaving a thin trail of blood across the carpet. She reached the service lift and used her black reader ring to trigger the maintenance override. The doors opened. Alessio's voice cut through the darkness. Maya, stop. She looked back once. Emergency lights outlined him 20 feet away, his pistol lowered but distrust still visible on his face. You made your choice, she said. The doors closed between them. Seconds later, the lift stopped violently between floors. Someone had cut the power. The ceiling hatch opened above her, and a masked man dropped into the car with a knife. Maya wrapped the strap of her laptop bag around his wrist, pulled him off balance, and drove her wounded side into the control panel. Pain exploded through her body, but she did not release him. When the knife fell, she kicked it through the gap beneath the doors. The man reached for her throat. Maya triggered the emergency brake release. The lift dropped half a floor. Her attacker slammed against the ceiling and collapsed. Maya forced the doors apart, dragged herself into a dark maintenance corridor, and disappeared into the hotel's mechanical tunnels. By the time Alessio's men opened the lift, they found only the unconscious assassin, Maya's blood and the black ring she had deliberately left behind. Maya Bennett was gone. Alessio stood before the empty service lift while Maya's blood darkened the carpet at his feet. The unconscious attacker lay inside the car with a broken wrist. He carried no identification, no phone, and no weapon except the knife Maya had kicked away. His clothes bore no labels. Even the serial number on his belt buckle had been filed off. A professional extraction team had entered the hotel under Dominic's security cordon, and Alessio had ordered Maya into their hands. He bent and picked up her black ring. "Seal the building," Dominic said behind him. "She cannot have gone far." Alessio closed his fist around the ring. "You said that when she was taken from the auction." Dominic's face tightened. "I am trying to correct that failure. By finding her or killing her." Every guard in the corridor became still. Dominic lowered his voice. "You are angry because she deceived you." "I'm angry because someone fired a bullet into Grant Keller's chest while he was standing beside me. And Bennett used the distraction to steal $400 million. Alessio looked at the blood trail again. "She also had 3 opportunities to let me die tonight." He ordered Dominic back to the estate to contain the council. Then he sent the other guards away and remained with Nico Salvi, his security chief and oldest friend. Nico examined Maya's ring beneath a portable scanner. No transmitter, no storage large enough for files. Then why leave it? Maybe she dropped it. No. Alessio remembered the deliberate way Maya removed the ring to read the recorder's damaged membrane. She protected her tools instinctively. She wanted me to find it. Nico touched the ring to the security token taken from Grant's body. A recovery interface opened. The $400 million had never entered Bennett's strategic holdings. It remained inside the Romano Emergency Fund, sealed behind a 72-hour quarantine. The company name existed only as a false label injected into the ballroom's display. Maya had saved every dollar. A message appeared beneath the account. Recovery of Inamtric plus Bennett NFC key. If she intended to steal it, Nico said, she would have taken the ring. The first contradiction. Back at the estate, the consequences of Maya's absence were immediate. The internal network rejected every administrator. Security cameras froze. Electronic locks cycled without warning. The family council received new fragments of the fabricated ledger every 8 minutes, each one more damaging than the last. Maya had kept the attack contained while armed men hunted her. Without her, the Romano system was bleeding from every opening. Alessio entered the library and found Dominic waiting beside 3 council members. "Have you recovered the money?" Dominic asked. "Yes." "And Bennett?" "Not yet." Dominic pushed a notarized corporate filing across the desk. "The government registry confirms she formed Bennett's strategic holdings." Alessio examined the digital notary stamp. The date was 11 months earlier at 2:14 on a Tuesday afternoon. Nico quietly handed him Maya's employment record. At that exact time, she had been presenting a security audit inside a Toronto bank. Her passport entry, hotel key, and conference video placed her across the border. More importantly, the notary who supposedly witnessed her signature had died 6 weeks before the filing date. The second contradiction. "Where did you obtain this?" Alessio asked. "Celeste's father has investigators." "Fast investigators." The evidence was easy to find. Too easy. Alessio remembered Dominic naming the Shadow Archive before Grant's death had been confirmed. He remembered the secure call that opened the sedan to a remote attack. Neither fact proved betrayal, but both narrowed the circle. He needed an adversarial contradiction, something the enemy could reveal only by acting. Alessio dismissed the council and separately contacted 3 people with 3 different lies. He told Celeste Harrow that Maya's physical recorder had been recovered and taken to the Romano boathouse. He told Nico it was being analyzed inside an apartment in Queens. He told Dominic it had been secured beneath the family chapel, inside the old wine cellar. Each location was placed under surveillance. 19 minutes later, 4 armed men entered the wine cellar through a drainage tunnel. They bypassed 2 alarms that only Dominic and Alessio knew how to disable. The third contradiction. Nico's team captured 1 attacker alive. A second man bit through a poison capsule before he could be restrained. The other 2 escaped, leaving behind a radio tuned to a private frequency. Alessio listened as a distorted voice issued new instructions. Bennett is injured. Check emergency rooms, private clinics, and every address connected to her family. Vescari wants her alive until the quarantine is opened. Nico looked at him. Vescari. Alessio stared toward the doorway, through which Dominic had left minutes earlier. The betrayal did not feel like an enemy's knife. It felt like discovering the hand that had raised him had always been measuring where to place the blade. His phone rang. Dominic. Alessio answered without revealing what he knew. The council has scheduled an emergency succession vote, Dominic said. Tomorrow night, during the Romano Foundation's centennial auction. If you cannot disprove the ledger publicly, they will remove you and transfer control of every legitimate holding. Then we will give them proof. Have you found the woman? Not yet. After ending the call, Alessio inspected the captured attacker's radio. A recently received map marked 6 possible locations. 5 were hospitals. The 6th was a community technology center in Brooklyn. Nico opened Maya's background file. She founded its cybersecurity program. Her younger brother manages the overnight desk. Alessio shook his head. She won't go there. She knows they're watching her family. Then why is it marked? Because they believe threatening her brother will draw her out. A message flashed across the captured radio. Team 2 in position tracked its brother Aquid. Alessio checked his weapon and headed for the door. For the first time that night, he was no longer hunting Maya Bennett. He was racing to reach her before Dominic did. The Brooklyn Community Technology Center occupied a converted firehouse between a laundromat and an abandoned church. Alessio arrived 11 minutes later. The windows were dark, but a delivery van idled across the street with 2 men inside. Dominic's team. Nico reached for his weapon. Before he could draw, the center's security camera rotated toward the van. The streetlights died, metal shutters covered the windows, and the van's engine went silent. Maya was already there. 2 gunmen emerged. Alessio and Nico intercepted them in the alley as a suppressed shot struck the brick beside Alessio's head. A speaker above the entrance crackled. Alessio, put your gun on the sidewalk. Maya's voice sounded strained but steady. There are 4 men inside, he replied. 3, I locked 1 in the elevator. Your brother. Server room, 2 guards with him. Alessio laid down his weapon and entered alone. Emergency lights illuminated rows of donated computers. Blood marked the stairs. Maya stood on the upper landing in an oversized gray hoodie over her torn uniform. A rough bandage circled her waist, and she held a nail gun aimed at his chest. You brought them here, she said. I followed the men who took your brother. Which may be exactly what Dominic wanted. A crash sounded from the server room. Maya turned and pain buckled 1 knee. Alessio moved instinctively. She fired a nail into the floor beside his shoe. Do not touch me. He stopped. What is your plan? Her expression shifted. She had expected a command. This building was a firehouse. The old pneumatic dispatch tubes connect the server room to the garage. When the pressure gauge reaches red, the release valve will sound like a gunshot. The guards will turn. What do you need from me? Follow my timing. The lights flashed twice. A violent crack echoed from the garage. Inside the server room, Jordan Bennett dropped beneath the desk. Both guards turned. Alessio struck the first while Maya triggered the fire suppressant, blinding the second in white vapor. Jordan swept the man's legs with a chair. The guard recovered and aimed at Maya. She fired the nail gun through his wrist. Alessio kicked the pistol away. Maya had not waited to be rescued. She had designed the room so everyone moved where she needed them. Jordan ran to her. "You're bleeding." "It looks worse than it is." "It looks exactly as bad as it is," Alessio said. Maya glared at him, but allowed Jordan to rebandage the long, shallow graze. She explained how she had escaped through the hotel's mechanical tunnels, bought a coat with cash, and used an abandoned subway service corridor to reach the center. "Why didn't you contact me?" Alessio asked. "Grant was shot after I called him. Your car was hijacked during Dominic's call. Then you ordered his men to detain me." "They were my men. They wore your insignia. That's the mistake you keep making." She connected an isolated computer to Grant's token. Dominic had needed Alessio's biometric authorization to unlock the emergency fund. Unable to force him without exposing himself, he had built a crisis only Maya could appear to solve. The planted bracelet routed her into Alessio's custody. The false ledger made their rescue of the fund resemble a conspiracy. "Tomorrow's succession vote gives Dominic control of your legitimate holdings," Maya said. "When the quarantine expires, he redirects the money to Vale and eliminates the council members who could challenge him. Your fabricated confession takes the blame." Alessio offered one of his clinics. Maya refused anything he controlled. "Then choose the location." She searched his face. "You believed them. You decided evidence designed by strangers mattered more than what I did in front of you." "I was wrong." "That does not repair it." "No, but I can stop making the same mistake." He placed his pistol on the table and slid it toward her. "Tell me what you need, and I will follow your plan." Maya kept the magazine and returned the empty weapon. "That's why this is an alliance, not trust." Maya chose a 24-hour veterinary surgery owned by Jordan's former professor, Dr. Lena Ortiz. It had no connection to the city's hospital network. Lena removed metal fragments from Maya's side, closed the wound with 11 stitches, and warned her that running or twisting could tear it open. After 3 hours of sleep, Maya converted the examination room into an analog evidence lab. Phones remained outside. Every item rested in a numbered bag beneath a camera recording to 2 separate memory cards. She arranged the case in 3 columns. The recorder membrane proved her credentials were cloned at 7/43, breaking the official timeline. The SCARI access card linked company to the extraction team. The chapel attack proved someone had acted on information given only to him. But neither proved he knowingly created the escrow order or hired Vale. "Then we take him before the council," Nico said. "He won't confess," Maya replied. "And if the auction is canceled, he disappears behind lawyers while Vale keeps hunting everyone attached to the evidence." The centennial auction had to continue. Dominic would bring the hardware signing key hidden inside his cane because he needed it to redirect the fund after the council named him acting head. Maya built an air-gapped recorder to capture his certificate, the original escrow instructions stored within the cane, and the new destination he selected. "And if he destroys it," Alessio asked. "He probably will." The Halcyon Ballroom's charity station used an old thermal printer for legally required donation receipts. Its line ran through steel conduit into a vault requiring 2 independent trustees to open it. Maya would route a duplicate audit there. Even if the network died, the evidence would print beyond Dominic's reach. She divided the recorder's decryption key into 3 fragments. Nico received one, Lena sealed one inside her safe, and Maya kept the third. Alessio watched her. "You planned for me to betray you again." "I planned for everyone to fail in the most predictable way, especially myself." At noon, Alessio called Dominic. "I found Bennett. She claims Grant created the ledger and forced her to move the money. She has offered to confess publicly in exchange for her brother's safety." "A public confession would stabilize the council," Dominic said. "I will bring her to the auction." Do you trust her? No. The lie came easily enough to hurt. Alessio said Maya's ring had been damaged and Dominic might need to redirect the fund manually. Dominic confirmed his legal key could authorize it and agreed to bring the cane. He believed you, Maya said after the call. He believes what he taught me, that loyalty belongs to blood and authority, never to the person standing beneath them. That evening, Maya entered the Halcyon through the loading dock disguised as a Foundation technician. Her wound forced her to move slowly. She connected the thermal printer and tested the fallback. One line emerged, "Oxo Veri." Then a second line appeared that she had not programmed. "Remote administrator active." Every basement door locked. Dominic's voice came through the speaker. "Miss Bennett, I was hoping Alessio would bring you back to me." Maya pulled the printer cable before Dominic could erase the test. The ventilation system released a sharp chemical odor. "Hold your breath," she warned. Nico fired at the reinforced lock. Maya removed the paper roll, pushed it through the receipt chute into the accounting vault and closed the steel flap. 4 Vescari guards entered wearing respirators. Nico wounded one before a bullet struck his shoulder. Maya swung the printer into another man's face, but the movement tore her stitches. The recorder was crushed beneath a boot. Dominic entered after the gas cleared, his silver cane clicking against the tile. He took Maya's and Grant's token. His men found Nico's decryption fragment. "Where are the others?" he asked. "You'll have to guess." Grant said you were the best person he had ever underpaid. At the mention of the murdered man, Maya's expression hardened. "Keep Salvi alive," Dominic ordered. "Bring Miss Bennett upstairs." By nightfall, 200 donors, reporters, trustees, and council members filled the restored ballroom. Armed Vescari guards controlled every staircase, corridor, and elevator under the pretense of protection. Maya entered with her wrists bound beneath a dark coat. Cameras turned toward the woman accused of financing murder. Alessio stood on the auction platform. His gaze found the blood beneath her coat, and fury showed for one dangerous second. Dominic noticed. "We caught her manipulating the Foundation's accounting system," he announced. "She and Nico Salvi will be delivered to federal authorities after the council's emergency vote." Maya knew neither would survive the drive. Alessio spoke before she could. Maya Bennett acted alone. The sentence landed harder than the bullet graze. "She exploited my trust, used stolen credentials, and transferred the emergency fund under false pretenses." Maya found no signal in his face. "Remove her restraints," Alessio ordered. "Let every witness see she is not being coerced." When he stepped close, he whispered, "I need him to believe you have nothing left. You're doing an excellent job. Can you stand for 5 more minutes? That depends on what you do with them." The 7 council members cast their votes. 5 black stones fell in the crystal bowl. Alessio was removed and Dominic Vescari became interim chairman. Dominic approached the terminal and unscrewed the silver head of his cane. He inserted the hidden signing key, Maya's ring, and Grant's token. The terminal accepted 2 of 3 fragments and demanded the last. Dominic nodded toward the rear entrance. Jordan stood there with a gun against his back. "Give me the location," Dominic said, "or he dies before these people understand what they witnessed." "Dr. Lena Ortiz, veterinary surgery on Bergen Street, office safe." 30 seconds later, Dominic received confirmation that the fragment had been acquired. The quarantine opened. He selected 6 beneficiary accounts, including Adrian Vale's encrypted route, entered $400 million, and pressed his thumb to the cane's biometric sensor. "It transfer offward." Dominic leaned close to Maya. "You were never the wrong woman. You were the only one skilled enough to make Alessio authorize his own destruction." In the basement vault, the thermal printer came alive. Dominic had cut its visible cable, but Maya had rerouted the fallback through the Foundation's isolated donation line. Beyond his reach, it recorded his hardware certificate, original escrow instruction, and new transfer authorization. The auctioneer lifted his gavel. Before it could fall, Maya stepped to the microphone. I did not steal the Romano emergency fund. Open the accounting vault. She pointed to Evelyn Shaw and Marcus Reed, the independent trustees. The transfer Dominic just authorized produced a legally isolated audit record. Only they can retrieve it. Dominic smiled for the cameras. A record created by a cybersecurity criminal proves nothing. Then you have nothing to fear. Reporters turned toward him. Under their gaze, he allowed the trustees downstairs. They returned with a sealed envelope. The pages showed Maya's credentials cloned at 7:43, months after the dates assigned to the fabricated payments. They also identified Dominic's cane as the hardware key that created the original escrow instruction. My key was copied, Dominic said. Bennett possessed the technical ability. The secure element cannot be copied without breaking it, Maya replied. Every authorization advances an internal counter that never moves backward. The original instruction funding veil carried counter number 8,407. Dominic's transfer minutes earlier carried 8,408. Consecutive signatures, same physical device. Dominic turned to the council. Alessio forced tonight's transfer. Someone could have inserted the earlier instruction while my cane was outside my possession. Alessio joined Maya. Your cane was in the family chapel when I told you the recorder was stored beneath it. 19 minutes later, armed men from your company entered the cellar using your private alarm code. Nico appeared on the balcony, pale from blood loss, but standing beside the attacker, captured the chapel. The man's radio orders and Vescari credentials appeared on the screens. Dominic raised his voice. Evidence manufactured by a disgraced boss and the woman who seduced him into betraying his family. Maya did not flinch. This was never about seduction. You chose me because my work was valuable enough to build your crime and my name was unimportant enough to carry the blame. The final pages listed Vale's payment route, the scheduled succession vote, and 6 assassination releases, all authenticated by Dominic's hardware signature. The evidence did not depend on his confession or on Maya being believed. It proved itself. Dominic tapped his cane twice. Vescari guards raised their weapons. One seized Jordan, another aimed at the council. Steel shutters descended as the lights died. Maya pulled the manual fire alarm beneath the platform. The circuit was mechanical and independent of the network. Every magnetic lock released Alessios de Security, disguised as caterers, drivers, and foundation staff, entered from 4 directions. Dominic's men fired. Jordan dropped as Maya had trained him. She triggered the lighting board's emergency strobe, blinding the gunman without darkening the exits. Alessio knocked Maya behind the podium and took a grazing round across his upper arm. Dominic fled toward the service corridor. Maya used the building instead of trying to outrun him. One command lowered the fire curtain across his escape route. He turned and raised a pistol hidden inside his cane. Maya threw the heavy auction gavel. It struck his wrist and the pistol fired into the ceiling. Alessio disarmed the man who had raised him and handed him to the council's loyal guards. Across the room, Vescari's men surrendered. Maya returned to the microphone, one hand pressed against her reopened wound. My name is Maya Bennett. I was kidnapped by mistake, framed by design, and condemned because powerful men assumed no one would question the evidence against a woman they had decided was disposable. She placed the authenticated pages before the cameras. Now question it. No one in the ballroom looked at her as invisible again. The trustees froze the transfer before the funds cleared. Adrian Vale was arrested at a private airfield after investigators traced one beneficiary account to his extraction plane. Dominic Vescari faced charges for Grant Keller's murder, attempted murder, kidnapping, fraud, and conspiracy. The consecutive signatures from his cane survived every challenge raised by his attorneys. Celeste Harrow admitted Dominic had threatened her father and forced her to identify Maya. Her testimony exposed how the bracelet had been planted and why Maya had been selected. Nico recovered. Jordan returned to the technology center with enough new security hardware to make the building nearly impossible to breach. Maya needed 19 stitches after the auction. She spent 6 weeks recovering and all 6 away from Alessio. He did not send guards to watch her. He did not arrive uninvited. He did not use money, danger, or guilt to force his way back into her life. Instead, he dismantled the private enforcement division Dominic had corrupted, surrendered its records to investigators, and resigned from direct control of the Romano Foundation while an independent board reviewed every account. Then he repaired the harm where he had helped create it. 2 months later, Maya entered the halcyon ballroom again. This time, no catering jacket hid her curves. She wore a deep blue suit tailored to the body no humiliation had ever diminished. Reporters, trustees, and council members waited beneath the same chandeliers. Alessio stood alone at the podium. Maya Bennett did not exploit my trust, he said. She honored it after I had given her every reason not to. She saved my life, protected my family, and preserved evidence while I allowed fear and status to outweigh what was directly before me. He did not blame Dominic. I accused her publicly. I endangered her publicly. So I am correcting the record publicly. The failure was mine. He displayed the independent forensic report clearing Maya. The foundation announced compensation for the damage to her career, a permanent grant for Grant Keller's family, and funding for cybersecurity education administered by an outside board selected by Maya. Maya accepted the exoneration but no position inside the Romano Empire. Instead, she founded Bennett Integrity Systems, an independent firm specializing in evidence authentication and financial threat detection. Alessio became her first client under a contract giving Maya complete audit authority and the right to terminate him without notice. He signed without negotiating a clause. After the ballroom emptied, Maya found him beside the service doors where his men had taken her. "I owe you more than an apology," he said. "But an apology is where I start. I was wrong, I hurt you, I have no excuse." "No, you don't. I love you." Maya held his gaze. "That gives me no claim over you," he continued. "If you walk away, no one follows. If you stay, it will be because you choose to." A waiter passed carrying champagne. One glass tilted dangerously. Maya caught it before it fell. The sound brought them both back to the instant her ordinary life had shattered. The wrong bracelet, the wrong elevator, the wrong woman dragged into a war designed around her invisibility. She offered Alessio the rescued glass. "You kidnapped the wrong woman." "I know." "And then you refused to let her go." His smile disappeared. "I know that too." Maya stepped closer, but the distance she closed belonged entirely to her. "I'm not promising forever," she said. "I'm offering dinner. No guards. No guards. No armored car. I choose the car. And if you change your mind, you let me leave." Alessio accepted the glass every time. Maya took his hand and led him through the service doors, not as his captive, employee, or possession, but as the woman who had exposed his blindness, survived his mistake, and returned only after he learned that love without freedom was merely another locked room. This time every door opened from her side.